The 1995 classic film Se7en was directed by David Fincher. Before he added his artistic vision to the project, this was a screenplay by Andrew Kevin Walker. The inspiration for the setting of this film is based on Walker's time in New York City from 1986 to 1991. However, this is not New York City. It's been heavily documented that the majority of the film was shot in Los Angeles. However, that's not the setting either. Instead, this place is a metaphor for any city with a high crime rate. Today, I'll be going over my theory as far as what this city represents and the people who live in it. But before we dive into it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe as this channel gets closer to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks. For a city that plays a significant role as much as its main characters, I feel it's necessary to highlight some of its attributes. Let's start with the rain. For a city that is steeped in sin, I believe this is a metaphor to have these imperfections consistently washed away. The same way David cried out to God to be washed and cleansed of his sins. The constant dread that looms down every block is unworthy of being in the presence of God. This continuous rinse and repeat showcases how the power of sin has overtaken the Lord's work. No matter how much rain is stowed upon the city, it's simply not enough to wash away what it's become. The longer you stay in this city, the sooner you'll be drained of any optimism you may have once had. This can be shown through virtually any small character that we encounter throughout the film. The cops are careless, the security guards are lazy, doctors are insensitive, the residents take on odd jobs suitable for the devil's work. Any ounce of innocence is doomed to be scarred or sacrificed. If this is a representation of the world, then it makes sense why Somerset will refuse to bring new life into it. When looking at what rain symbolizes, it's no accident that it represents our four main characters: unhappiness, determination, rebirth, and foreboding. For a character who is wholesome and innocent as Tracy, she is an easy target for this city. Her unhappiness is validated based on her body language at the dinner table and her conversation with Somerset at the diner. As a teacher, I imagine she hasn't been able to make any connection with her school staff, and this is why she has yet to invite any of her colleagues to come over for dinner. Reaching out to her husband to get Somerset to come over was her last hope. Luckily, Somerset is a person with peace of mind and offers great comfort. Unfortunately, his time in this city is almost done, as he prepares for the rebirth of his life. As wise as Somerset is, he's become overly pessimistic as he spent time in this city.
We're collecting all the evidence, taking all the pictures and samples, writing everything down, noting the time things happen. That's all. That's all.
After many years, the toxicity surrounding him is finally clear, and he finds that the only way to escape it is to get out. He understands that if you pursue things with passion, the city will catch on to this and drain you of any ambition you may have once had. This is why when dealing with a case, he asks more open-ended questions instead of looking for answers. If your intent is too obvious, you open yourself up to become a target. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you have John Doe, the person who represents the foreboding aspects of rain. Like Somerset, John Doe has been in this city long enough to understand its motives. However, in his case, instead of running away from it, he chooses to project it. He highlights the sins throughout the city that become the driving force for this film. I neglect to call them murders because if we really look at it, he only committed one murder in the entire film. The gluttony victim ate himself to death. The pound of flesh cut from the greed victim was of his own doing. The sloth victim was still alive when SWAT kicked in the door. The lust victim was murdered by a client, and the pride victim took her own life. Although John Doe forced the hand, the only metaphorical blood on his is through his own sin of envy. I have to believe that John Doe once represented the determination aspects of rain. This is shown through his relentless dedication to bring his masterwork to fruition. The books he's read, the books he's written, and the subjects he studied to use as vessels for his vision. Anyone lurking in the city with an ounce of ambition is doomed to become John Doe, an empty man who has been drained of his original path and purpose, only to have it filled with something more sinister. We can see this when we look at David Mills, the character who represents the determination aspects of rain. As the newest detective in this city, he's determined to prove himself by closing the book on this high-profile case. Unbeknownst to him, this city does not cater to ambition. It slowly sticks its teeth into him and slowly starts to drain everything that he stands for. By the time we get to the end of the film, he is no longer a determined detective. He's been transformed into a resident who is headed back to the city. Through Mills's character, we are subtly shown the first 5 sins prior to their occurrence. If you look up the word glutton, it doesn't solely have to do with someone who is excessively overeating. You can also be a glutton for work, as we see in this scene here.
I thought we might find a bar someplace, you know.
Well, I'd like to get to the precinct, if it's all the same. You know, not much time for this transition thing.
Mills's determination overshadows a gesture to get to know the detective that he's replacing. When Somerset opts to be reassigned for the gluttony victim, we see Mills's determination turn into greed.
Give it to me.
Say what?
Yeah, he doesn't want it. Fuck him. Sorry, but see you later. Have a nice time. Give it to me.
When investigating the Greed murder scene, we see Mills give up on discovering new evidence. This display of laziness is what leads us to our sloth victim. Before knocking on John Doe's door, Mills makes a sexual remark regarding his wife.
You do the talking. Put that silver tongue of yours to work.
No, I've been talking to my wife.
And this brings us to our lust victim. Silver tongue, silver murder weapon. And lastly, Mills's pride is hurt when he gets his face smashed in by John Doe. This prompts him to kick in the door when they return back to the apartment. The attack from John Doe forces Mills to need bandages for his wounds, which is exactly what we see with the pride victim. Little by little, he is slowly becoming everything that this city cannot wash away. Because in this city, when there is sin, grace does not abound. Alright, so that concludes this video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments. Or you can just type Gotham. Se7en is one of my favorite films of all time. I really enjoyed making this video, so I hope you got a lot from it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next week. Peace.